the voice on that guy. Praise be.
Under his eye.
Yeah, under his eye. All right. Oh, a little taller than you, dude. Oh, I'm good. I'm good. Yeah. All right, the song that you need to get in your mind as a soundtrack of this story is Journey, The Wheel in the Sky.
Yeah.
So, this is my life. Since I was a little kid, I was always banging on stuff. On the kitchen table, on the back of the car, everything. And I had rhythm. And my parents, I'm this big, my parents knew I had rhythm. They're like, this kid's got something. And so I begged and begged and begged since I was a kid. And they finally said, all right, we'll get you a drum set. They got me an orange Slingerland sparkly drum kit that I still wish this day I had. I've always been a drummer. I always will be a drummer. But back then, they're like, man, this guy can play. And so as the years go by, I'm listening to the radio, and I got headphones on. I'm listening to every song I can soak my music teeth into. And when I'm listening to music, I hear every single instrument being played simultaneously. It's like a little weird, like Quincy Jones in a rap, like in a hamster wheel, like in my head. It drives me crazy. So the years go by, and I'm in the garage, and I'm just listening. I'm pounding everything out, and I'm just absorbing so much music, and I'm loving it. I come home from school, that's all I do. And I'm doing other stuff, but this is what I really want to do. And finally, cut to 1982 in Reseda, California. And my best friend, Sean Tucker, and his cool dad, who gave me my first joint, gave me my first porno mag, right? My first porno mag. His girlfriend was so hot, and she wore a bikini top like year-round, all the time. And I'm pretty sure I watched him have sex a couple times on the patio, but that's a whole other story. Well, yeah, and then, so one day he says, guys, I'm taking you to a concert. And I'm a kid, I've never been to a big concert. He said, we're going to the Rose Bowl, 1982. It's Journey, Blue Oyster Cult, Triumph, and Aldo Nova. Boom!
Yeah.
Right? It's crazy. So we get there, and I'm freaking out. There's like thousands and thousands and thousands of people there. I'm losing my mind. My little brain is just like sizzling in my skull. And me and Sean, we bam, 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 all the bands are playing, we get our way up to the front, and almost right before Journey starts, we muscle our way up to the front of the field. And Journey goes on, and the fireworks and the craziness, the madness, and all the weed smoke, and I'm trying to fucking inhale it and shit. And then, and all of a sudden, the wheel in the sky starts turning. And the fireworks are going off, and some dude I don't even know just picks me up and turns me around. And I see 60,000 people losing their fucking collective shit. And I just went, well, that's what I'm doing. And that's what I did. And so I went home, and I told my parents, I'm going to play drums. And they're like, cool, man. And so I played drums, and I taught myself how to read music, and I just immersed myself in drums and drums and drums and drums. And I graduated from high school. And I tell my parents, I ain't going to college. I'm playing drums. Like, that's cool. And so I got in bands, and I played in bars, and I played at fraternities, and I played anywhere I could get my sticks in my hands and play for a beer or for money or for sex or whatever the fuck it was. And yeah, that's true. And so then I form a band, and we get a record deal, and now it's the early 90s. And the whole grunge thing's happening. I'm opening for all my favorite bands. There's Pearl Jam, there's Soundgarden, there's Radiohead and Oasis and Blind Melon and all these great bands, and I'm playing with them. I'm touring all over the place, and I'm making all this money, and this is my life, and this is what I knew I was going to do when I was a little kid. And it's finally happening for me. The years go by, and it's early 90s, the 90s happen, and I'm in different bands, and I'm a hired gun, and everything is great. And then I form another band, and it's like 1997, and I finally have hit the jackpot. I got a record deal in my lap that's going to set me up financially. It's a big label, everything's great. Within 24 hours, the whole thing falls apart. And the band breaks up. I'm devastated. Devastated. And I busted my ass all these years, and I mean, like, you know what? Fuck this, I'm done. It was the hardest decision I ever had to make. And so, I had some money left over, and I just kind of sat around. Imagine, remember, I didn't go to college. I never had a job. That's what I did. And I just walked away at 27. So, a buddy of mine who used to be in a management company, he said, dude, I'm working some retail. Just go get a job, just go sell some clothes, do something. I'm like, fucking all right. So I go, and I'm working a few days, and this guy shows up. And he says, what are you doing? You don't belong here. What are you doing here? And I said, I don't know, what are you talking about? What do you want to do? And somehow, some crazy little thing in my brain says, I want to be an agent. And it says, come see me on Monday. This dude is the vice president of one of the biggest agencies in the world. I go on and meet with him, and he's like, you're hired. And 9 months later, he made me an agent. And most guys are toiling mail for 4 years and whatever, have a law degree. Nope, I just talked my shit into it, and I did it. And so, I become a voiceover agent. And during the first year, meanwhile, I love music. I'm still immersing myself in music and the culture and everything, but I've given that up, and now I have a new life. This is my second chapter of my life. And during that first year, one of my clients is the announcer at the Billboard Music Awards. So I go to Vegas, and I'm standing on the side of the stage, and I see Courtney Love and Hole, and they're the biggest band in the world right then. And I look, and I see this unicorn, crazy, sexy, blonde woman named Samantha Maloney. And she's playing the drums like a fucking dude, like crushing the drums. And I look at my client and I go, that's what I want, forever. And he goes, all right. And I didn't talk to her, and that was it, and I went home. And that was 1998, so that's 20 years later. And then in 1996, remember this little website called MySpace? I had just got on it. My sister's like, oh, get on MySpace, you know, meet some people, whatever. I didn't do shit on that. All of a sudden, I randomly look on there one day, Samantha Maloney hits me up. I'm like, what are you talking about? This is crazy, and it's her. And I'm getting punked, this is nuts, I can't believe it. We start up a conversation. And she's on tour with Eagles of Death Metal. Mind you, after she was in Hole, she went to go play in Motley Crue as a woman. Who the fuck does that? Nobody but Samantha Maloney. So now she's touring with other bands, and she's back and forth for almost a year. Emails, texts, phone calls, whatever. She's finally in town, I take her out for drinks, we have a great time. She goes back on the road. She comes back a couple weeks later, and we hang out for 3 days. Totally platonic, cool. And as she's leaving, she's getting emotional, and she says, I just don't want to go. And I said, you know what? I'll be here when you get back. And she started crying. And I'm like, what'd I say? And she goes, that's all I've ever wanted to hear from anybody. I'll be here when you get back. And I was. And she came back, and we moved in. And last year, we got married after 10 years.
Yeah.
And she's now the vice president of Warner Brothers Records, and I'm the vice president of that agency, and that dude that talked before me is my best friend and my client. Life is fucking good.